Hello everyone, this is the fourth week of Advent. It's hard to believe though, throughout the season already, we're on the fourth week, and actually Christmas is already next week. So we're looking at starting our lesson today, and we're going to be talking about the birth of Jesus. Actually, we're going to be talking about the time up to the birth of Jesus. So looking at our lessons that we've already gone through here, we started off with long before Jesus was born, the prophet Isaiah told the people that a wise and strong leader would be born from the family of David. Many years later, we have an angel told the priest Zechariah that his wife Elizabeth was going to have a baby. You can see Zechariah there. Of course, that baby's name was actually his name was John. And so John was actually sent before to sit there and prepare for the beginning of Christ. And so, of course, we had Elizabeth seeing there we go. Elizabeth seeing Mary and her baby jumping, and of course they are actually talking about that. We had covered the Magnificence last year, or the Song of Mary. So this week, as I said, we're going to be talking about, oh boy, it looks like there's only lots of animals, and actually you can see Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus in this picture for our card this week. So let me go ahead and talk through the story for us this week, Bethlehem baby. Okay, we're going to be talking about the Christmas story. Emperor Augustus sent out a decree that all the people must return to their family's hometown to be counted. Joseph also went from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to the city of David called Bethlehem, because he was descendant from the house and family of David. He went to be registered with Mary, to whom he was engaged and who was expecting a baby. While they were there, the time came to deliver her child, and she gave birth to her firstborn son and wrapped him in bands of cloth and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them in the inn. In that region there were shepherds living in the fields, keeping watch over the flock by night. Then an angel of the Lord stood before them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid, for see, I am bringing you good news of great joy for all the people. To you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, who is the Messiah, the Lord. This will be a sign for you. You will find a child wrapped in bands of cloth and laying in a manger." And suddenly there was angels, a multitude of heavenly hosts, praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest heaven, and on earth peace among those who he favors." When the angels had left them and gone into the heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let us go now to Bethlehem and see this thing that has taken place, which the Lord has made known to us." So the shepherds hurried off and found Mary and Joseph and the baby lying in a manger. When they left, they told everyone the good news. The people were amazed. The shepherds went back to their flocks, praising God all they had seen and heard. But Mary treasured all these words and pondered them in her heart. Wow. So actually, if you read this full story, it is much more lengthy. I remember many of you actually have already been in our Christmas program, and you've heard this story a number of times. It is much longer. We certainly pull some of the verses from Isaiah as far as the prophecy of his birth, and we certainly bring that into our Christmas story as well. So, what do you think? That was a very shortened version of our story here. As you can see, here's a picture of actually the shepherds and the angels coming and talking to them about and letting them know about the good news. So what do you think? I wonder, if you're thinking about the journey to Bethlehem, What do you think it was like for Joseph and Mary? I mean, they were traveling for quite some distance, actually, and Mary is ready for delivering her baby. So do you think it was an easy trip for them? Can you imagine bouncing around in a car and going from one place, maybe just saying, hey, I need to get to the hospital to have a baby. Just think about the trip that you're going from from your home to the hospital. And typically, usually, hopefully, it's not too much more than 20 minutes at the maximum, and that you can get there in a timely fashion. If it's probably 30 minutes, well, you better be hoping that's the first baby, that's going to be longer. Second baby, maybe might not get there in time. So you're thinking Mary being with child and traveling, it could be actually a pretty difficult time for them. Even if she rode on a donkey for a good period of the time, certainly was a difficult journey for them. I wonder what it sounded like when angels came to the shepherd. Do you think all of a sudden, boom, a big headlight shone out on them, and they were stirring, talking in multitude of voices, and a great big boom, and saying, don't be afraid, I bring you good news. You think the shepherds were a little frightened? Okay, it's like a deer in the headlights, right? Sure. Yeah, so what do you think? Do you think they were loud? Maybe they were soft? Maybe they were kind of not trying to scare the dickens out of the shepherds? I don't know. It certainly would be startling because I've been out in the desert in the dark time, and if there is no lights or anything out in the middle of nowheres, it is pretty dark in the desert, and it certainly would be multitude of angels to show up. It certainly would be a scary situation. Certainly would change the scene dramatically if they showed great light. So, lastly, who would you think that you would want to tell about the birth of Jesus Christ? Do you think there's anybody that you would think? Maybe you think that you want to share the good news. Who do you think that might be that you want to share it with? So we're going to move on to take a look at our Spotlight magazine. Again, we're going to be moving to page 6. Again, it's Advent week 4. We actually will be lighting the love candle this week, as far as in church, if you're going to be there. This week, Advent 4, we're going to be talking about and moving to page 6 and with the candles on them. And we're going to take 2 of the small candles, and this week we're going to say, what words would you use to describe Jesus? Just 2. Write those 2 words on the 2 small candles on the bottom there. So this week we'll be moving into next week, and we'll finish up our last candle that we're having here. So, and we'll be talking about that. So, we are finished with that. We're going to be moving to page 18. If you turn to page 18, we're going to be talking about different Christmas traditions. Christmas is coming, so putting up Christmas trees, hanging lights, giving gifts, eating candy canes are part of celebrating Christmas in many parts of the world. Where do these Christmas traditions come from? So, I think when we were doing Hang of the Green ceremony at actually the church, the pastor did a great job of talking about the tradition of the Christmas tree. He says here, the Christmas trees first became a part of the Christmas celebrations in Germany and Eastern European countries almost 500 years ago. That's a long time. When families decorated their trees with gingerbread, apples, and glass ornaments. German settlers later took their tree decorating tradition to the United States and Canada. Because evergreens stay green throughout the year, they symbolize the everlasting life and love of God. How about Christmas lights? God's sakes, I shouldn't say that. I certainly put Christmas lights on my trees. Some people don't. Some people certainly, long ago they put candles on there. I don't think that's necessarily a good idea these days because trees like to burn, and certainly we don't want to burn our homes down. So that's something to keep in mind. But the tradition of lights of Christmas represent the light of hope, joy, and peace that Jesus brought to the world. For some people, the lights on the tree are a reminder of the Star of Bethlehem that's shone in the sky when Jesus was born. And one time, the lights on a Christmas tree came from candles, I said, that were set carefully among the branches. Thomas Edison invented the first string of electric lights in 1880, but it wasn't until 40 years later that stringing lights around a Christmas tree became a holiday tradition. Christmas gifts. Wow, where did that come from? Figure the odds, right? The tradition of giving gifts at Christmas symbolizes the gifts the wise men brought to Jesus. Children all around the world receive gifts during the Christmas season, but not all the same day. In Belgium and Netherlands, children receive presents on St. Nick's Day, which is on December 6th. Many children in the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom open presents on Christmas Day. In some places, children don't open presents until Three Kings Day. The day celebrates the visit of the Magi to Jesus' home. The Three Kings Day is on January 6th, 1 month after St. Nick's Day. And lastly, the candy canes. I think maybe many of you may have heard this story before. The candy of all kinds is shared during the Christmas season. One of the most popular candies, the candy cane, was invented in 1919 when a candy maker named Bob McCormick began making and selling peppermint sticks. But Mr. McCormick's peppermint sticks were straight. His brother-in-law invented a machine that could curve the candy sticks into shapes of a cane. The first candy canes were striped red and white, but now they are found in many different colors and flavors. Which kind is your favorite? Actually, I got a candy cane from one of my supervisors. It was actually kind of a red, white, and blue one. Actually, it was actually the VA, so yeah, kind of a traditional situation there. Wow. So those are some of the traditions that we see throughout the world. So, and you can take a look and spend some time looking at the pictures and actually maybe discussing what some of the traditions that you are doing in your family. So, many times just to talk about thinking with stories are actually, and we talk about Nazareth, we talk about Galilee, we talk about Jerusalem, we talk about Bethlehem. Where are these locations? Well, I can certainly pull up the map, and you can certainly take a look at the map as well. But if you could take some time to look at these things here, Galilee was the area where many of the Jewish people lived during the time of Jesus. Jesus spent a lot of time there, healing and teaching. Many people of Galilee fished in the Sea of Galilee, and others were farmers. Galilee was surrounded by rolling hills. Nazareth, we pretty much know that was part of our story today. Mary and Joseph lived in the small town of Nazareth in an area of Galilee, a little less than 100 miles from Jerusalem. It has probably took 4 to 5 days to walk from Nazareth to Jerusalem. So think about that. You hear about Jesus going from Nazareth to Jerusalem, and actually think about it, by a car it probably wouldn't take long, because if you're thinking it's 100 miles or 160 kilometers, 100 miles, if you're thinking about the Green Bay, is like 71 miles. 100 miles would be probably just south of Milwaukee. So by car, that's really not, that's an hour or so. But thinking about it, if you're walking that distance, it's 4 to 5 days. That's certainly a long time. But how many miles can you put in a day when you're walking? Okay, we talked about Jerusalem. Actually, pretty much most people know Jerusalem is an important city because it's the city where the kings lived. Many people travel to the temple in Jerusalem to celebrate Jewish festivals. And Zachariah and Elizabeth lived in a village near the city of Jerusalem. Yeah, try that saying that 10,000 times. And also, Bethlehem was a small village south of Jerusalem. Mary and Joseph traveled Jerusalem to Bethlehem, where Jesus was born. So if you think about it, it's a small village south of Jerusalem. So we have to say relatively it was from Nazareth to Bethlehem is where they traveled. So we're talking, it probably took at least 3 days to get from Nazareth to Bethlehem. So those are things to keep in mind. So, we had gone over this page a little bit earlier when we talked about Zechariah and the temple priests. If you turn to page 23, we're going to be talking about the shepherds today. Shepherds took care of large flocks of sheep or goats. The youngest boy in the family usually became the shepherd for his family. So, shepherds led their animals to places where animals would have good grass to eat and water to drink. They protected the flock from wild animals and made sure none of the sheep wandered off. This meant the shepherds had to stay with their animals most of the time and were in the fields day and night. Shepherds were ordinary people who worked hard. So why do you think the angels came to the shepherds? I think I've discussed this, I discussed this in the last confirmation class, and certainly I'll discuss it in the future as well. But think about it. Shepherds were common people, but they certainly were migrant people. They had traveled with their sheep back and forth with their sheep and goats. And so they were migrant people and actually came in contact with other shepherds. And so you think about it, if you're talking about wanting to share good news, who would you go to? You'd go to those people who were actually travelers and who actually would share that good news. And those were the shepherds of the time. So it's a good thing. The angels were certainly thinking of how we can spread the good news of Jesus' birth. And so it's a good starting right there. So that's our shepherds and why they had probably selected the shepherds to go ahead and to communicate the good news of Jesus Christ. So we're going to go ahead and do one more exercise. I'm just going to point you to page 33. And if you do please take some time. There's an opportunity to do a word search, searching for Christmas. Find words of the Christmas story in the word search below. When you finish, create a word search of your own. Can you do that, you think? So, some of the words that you're going to be looking for on the thing here are angel, Bethlehem, birth, Elizabeth, Gabriel, God, in, Israel, Jerusalem, Jesus, John, Joseph, manger, Mary, Nazareth, shepherds, and Zechariah. They all sound like good words. Okay, it's kind of a small puzzle. You probably should be easy to find the words pretty easy. So, that is our exercise for today. I hope that everyone's staying safe and are getting ready for the holiday season. And again, it has been crazy. I mean, we're really looking at, at this time we would have probably we've been planning for and been preparing for our Sunday school Christmas program in a normal year. So think about it. We would have been practicing, gathering. We've been talking about Sunday school Christmas programs. We're probably doing our dress rehearsal coming up. And we're missing all those things this year. Those are fun traditions, but we certainly will look forward to having those type of things going on for next year. And we certainly look forward to seeing you again. So let me go ahead and finish up here with a quick prayer again. Bless us, God, with love this week, love to share, love to keep. Amen. You all take care. I hope to see you at the Christmas service, Christmas Eve services. And you guys have a wonderful week. And don't eat too much for Christmas time, okay?